So we know statistically that around 40% or more of police officers are domestic abusers. Now, the media tends to make our boys in blue out to be some sort of fucking heroes. Sorry, I got hair that's messing with my visuals. Um, here's the thing. There are a lot of really nasty people who are parents. There's a lot of people like Ted Bollinger who had kids because he had drugs. He could pay these drug addicts from the streets like Rose and Danica and Shelley. Well, Ted's got the drugs. They're drug addicts. He pays them the drugs. They have sex. They get pregnant. Ted is still a monster. Now, let's say Ted had a badge. He's done these terrible things. He has spread his demon seed. And I say demon seed because he's going to teach his kids this same bullshit. Same thing with his ex-wives. Now let's say he was a police officer. And obviously, if he's willing to rape his own daughters, he'll rape somebody else too. So let's say one of these rape victims kills him. Or let's say he kills a rape victim and one of her family members kills him. Well, he's got this badge, right? So he's magically a better person than the Ted Bollinger we all know. Magically, because he's got this badge, he's a martyr. And we should feel sorry for him because he's got kids. He did this in the service of us, the American people. No, he fucking didn't. See, the news likes to paint these people in a certain light that just isn't true. It's like painting soldiers as fighting for our rights. No, the fuck, they're not. If soldiers were fighting for our rights, they would be fighting our government. Now, then there's the our part. A lot of people say, well, Donald Trump isn't my president. Well, I'll say that too. He's not my president, but he is the president of the United States. Kind of like saying The Rock is the people's champ. Well, I'm a people. He's not my champ. A lot of these people, their families do fucked up shit and they will defend their families to the death. Do I mean that literally? Fuck no. If you'll sell out your best friend, you'll sell out your mom. Pretty simple. I wish I had something to blow my nose with up here. Now, I don't know which cop it is that raped Crystal Beauchamp. However, when he's dead, let's say he gets shot by Crystal Beauchamp. Well, they're going to martyr him on TV. And let's say he's got kids. They're going to use that to try to paint it out like all cops are wonderful people and his poor kids. They're not going to focus on the reason that he got fucking shot. They're not going to think about it in the least bit. There's a lot of fucked up stuff going on in Boulder, Colorado. I mean, for such a small city, they tend to gather a lot of national attention, don't they? Between the rapes, the city council, the John Bonet case, the CU football players getting to do whatever they want. The police in Boulder, especially the CU police, will help to cover up the crimes of those CU football players. They really, really want to keep enrollment up, and they want to get those Midwest farmers' daughters there that everybody loves so much because they're so much prettier than everybody else, blah, blah, blah. Boulder was voted #1 college in America for how good looking the students were for quite a few years. Why is that important? Why is that part the part that is important? Why is that the statistic that so many people wanted to pay attention to? Why is it the Boulder police will cover up the crimes of CU students when they rape somebody or beat up a homeless person? They won't investigate any of the crimes against homeless people that the homeless people bring to them. Well, the first reason for that is because if you've ever been homeless in Boulder, you know that the #1 person most likely to victimize you is not going to be the college student. It's going to be a police officer. Now, who's the second most likely to victimize you? It's going to be another homeless person in a desperate situation. Different motivation. The police do it because they have the power and it makes them feel mighty. A homeless person steal your stuff just as the police will, but that homeless person does it out of desperation. If a homeless person is killed by a police, #1, you're probably not going to hear about it. They're not going to advertise it like they do when that naked guy got shot with a knife in his hand. That naked guy who was shot by Boulder police was a student. Whereas when they kill homeless people, which happens all the time, by the way, especially in Boulder, it doesn't hit the news. And if it does hit the news, it's a small mention, and they don't mention any of the creepy shit that was involved. Like with Danny, there were 2 deaths that were mentioned when they talked about Danny. They didn't mention the fact that the police got a phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning and that I found him dead at 10 o'clock in the morning after hundreds of people had walked past his lifeless corpse. Hundreds of people. His pants around his knees. Dried trail of multicolored fluid that came out of his mouth. They got a call before 6 o'clock in the morning saying that there was a homeless person not breathing and unresponsive behind the pedestrian shop in Boulder, Colorado. And they didn't send anybody out until 10 o'clock when myself and the manager of the pedestrian shop, Tony DeStassi, called it in. When Tony DeStassi was going to start giving Danny mouth to mouth, that's when I stopped him. Yeah, I'm not going to have that. Danny's got multicolored fluid between him and a tree that's back there. And with every chest compression, there's fluids, massive amounts of fluids spouting out of his face. No, Tony, you're not going to do that. He's dead. He's been dead a while. The other homeless man who was mentioned in the article, um, he was bashed in the head and his chest was crushed, possibly by police. They didn't rule it a homicide. They didn't make any big major incident about it. Now let's see if I can bring that up and post it over here in the comments. Boulder man found dead behind Pearl Street Mall. There's probably quite a few of them. Let's see if we can find the right one. June 14th, 2014. Is it? We lost a lot of people in 2014. Boulder police report death of homeless man near Pearl Street Mall. And yes, it shows the alleyway in between the pedestrian shop, and this is the one. The copy. I don't want this fucking advertisements. Get off of here. All right. Copy. And paste. A homeless man estimated to be between 25 and 35 years old was found dead early Saturday, a short distance from the Pearl Street Mall. This marks the fifth homeless person to be found dead in Boulder since the beginning of April. That's not true. There were a lot more than 5, you fucking lying assholes. But, see, I recognize that name, and, fuck that dude. Protecting his own goddamn officers and pretending to be internal affairs. Fuck him. Let's see. Who is currently not identified, went to sleep Friday night behind 1425 Pearl Street in the North Alley. When friends checked on him about 6:45 a.m. today, he was unresponsive and his friends called for medical assistance. He was dead at the time emergency personnel reached him at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Now it says, when friends checked on him about 6:45, first of all, they got a call before 6:45. And when I found him dead was 10 o'clock in the morning. 10 a.m., not 6:45. Now, the two people that were with him at the time, one of them's name is Aaron Mayville, and the other one goes by Cinderblock. Cinderblock is currently with somebody who calls herself Wings. Her real name is Lindsay. It says, there was no fight here. There was no disturbances or anything like that, said Gerhardt. From witnesses, there's no indication of anything out of the ordinary. Well, his pockets were outturned and his cock was out. And he was found at 10 a.m. dead, hours after they got a phone call. So, nothing out of the ordinary? Yeah, there definitely was things out of the ordinary, and most of it was how the police handled it. Says Boulder County Coroner staff were on the scene this morning directly behind the pedestrian shops, and detectives are investigating the circumstances of the man's death, Gerhardt said. According to homeless advocate Isabel McDevitt, executive director of Boulder's Bridge House, the death of yet another homeless person is a reminder that a solution is needed to the city's current lack of year-round sheltering and affordable housing. Well, you can actually ask DJ Wow about Danny's death, by the way. I think it's shocking that in a community as progressive and with so many resources that we literally have people dying on our streets, she said. At a minimum, we need to have more options for people who are living on the street and vulnerable. The solution isn't just more shelter, though. I think we need to have a comprehensive long-term strategy. Yeah, we do. Absolutely. I would propose a housing continuum, she said, with many options for people outside of emergency shelter, permanent affordable housing, mental health, and substance abuse treatment. That would have helped Natalie, I assure you. So we need to be thinking beyond shelters, but we certainly need that too, because the reality is building houses takes a while and it's very difficult. No, it's not. Building houses is not difficult. And it doesn't take a while. It really doesn't. Shit, you give them the property to do it on, homeless are capable of building their own houses. Many of these people have skills. Let's see. A string of homeless deaths in Boulder started April 4th with the discovery of the body of Janice Adams, 53, found at the underpass just south of Central Park near the Boulder Creek Path and at the intersection of Arapahoe Avenue and Broadway. Boulder County Coroner Emma Hall determined she died of alcohol poisoning. On April 5th, 51-year-old Randolph DeVore, 51, was found near the intersection of College Avenue and Broadway. He died of blunt trauma injuries to the head and chest. And Hall's office ruled his manner of death undetermined. Tell me that don't sound fishy. He also ruled the cause and manner of death for Thomas Cornell, a homeless man whose body was found April 15th in a drainage ditch behind the Boulder Target store at 2800 Pearl Street, to be undetermined. The coroner's office has not yet released a cause and manner of death for Catherine J. Fishman, 59, who was found dead at Scott Carpenter Park the morning of May 11th. McDevitt said spring is an especially difficult time to live outdoors in Boulder. Actually, spring is a very nice time to live outside in Boulder. There is definitely a pattern that I know I've seen, she said, where when the weather is very unpredictable and there are less sheltering options, that's when we see people go to bed when it's relatively mild and then the weather takes a turn. That certainly exacerbates a lot of people's vulnerability. McDevitt said weather was probably not a factor in this latest death. It's a little more unexpected to hear about a death this time of year. The thing is that it was a mix of an upper and downer, an injection that killed Danny. And they outturned his pockets and pulled his pants down. What were they checking for? See, the thing is, folks, you guys want to think of law enforcement as the good guys. They're bullies. That's what they are. They bully the homeless. Now, depending on how pretty you are, your gender, whether or not you live in a house is probably the most important factor. They will treat you more or less like a human being. Now, there are things that make you a human being in their mind, and there are things that make you less of one, and that is all based on bias and public opinion. Because their bias is also you, the public's bias. Some of these police officers grew up in broken homes with alcoholic fathers and were beaten and raped by their own family members and said, hey, I want to make a difference. Some of them grew up in upper middle class white homes, being told that everything is the fault of the poor are lazy, and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, who is it that we're depending on right now? These essential jobs are jobs that you don't pay people shit for. Boy, oh boy, Batman. Meanwhile, these police who are following laws that are extremely immoral, they are killing, literally killing my friends with these immoral laws. And when somebody gets fed up enough about it to do what it is that many of you say that you should do in that situation, oh man, if they fucking killed my loved ones, I'd fucking blow their head off. I'd do this, I'd do that. No, you fucking wouldn't. You'd watch. You would fucking watch. I already know I wouldn't kill anybody. That doesn't mean that the thought wouldn't cross my mind. And I suppose if they were to drug me up and shoot somebody in front of me, I might try under those circumstances. But we tend to pretend like because they have a badge, they're the good guy. I think when one of these pigs dies, that they should talk to all of the people who tried to turn them in and weren't allowed to. All of the people whose lives that they fucked up worse. Fuck the police. They are not the good guys. I found that the addicts through all of this were of more use than the police. I'm pretty sure 6 heroin addicts on the case of Natalie Bollinger, with the same resources that the police had, they probably would have found Natalie's killer in just a matter of hours. Just saying.